Hey everybody, new lesson today is on slope-intercept form. So what we've been doing lately is graphing different equations, and we've learned a couple different ways to do it. One way is to use our xy table, where we pick the x's, plug it in for y, get our ordered pairs and graph the line. We also found intercepts, so we know what an x-intercept is and we know what a y-intercept is. Well, today, just another way to do the same sort of thing. We're going to need to know two things. We're going to need to know the slope of a line and what the intercept is. So really what we're going to be looking to do today is this. We need to know this form. Y equals mx plus b. Okay? And if we get our equation written in this form, where the y is on one side all by itself here, if I can do that and everything else is over on the right, then this becomes pretty simple. Alright? Because what we're going to know is this. We talked about slope. Well, slope is just a letter m. So if we see a number that's in front of the x like that, well, that number is going to be our slope. And then our b, this is what we call our y-intercept. Y-intercept. So if I know these two things, if I know the point, the y-intercept is going to be the point where it crosses the y-axis. And then I know slope, where slope is going to be directions to another point, then I'll have 2 points on the graph. I can connect the dots and make the line. So if I ever get something that looks like this, y equals 2/3 x plus 5, well, think about it. If it's in this form, the 2/3 is my m, because that's the number in front of the x, so my slope would be 2/3. And I see a plus 5 here. Well, plus 5 would be our b, so I would then know my y-intercept equals 5. That's what they're going to be asking us to do today, is we have to put it in the form y equals mx plus b, and once it's there, then I can identify my slope, my y-intercept. I can even graph the line if they ask me to do so. Example 1. Identify the slope and y-intercept of the line with the given equation. Alright, so the first one here, y equals x minus 4. Y equals mx plus b. So to be able to do this, we have to have this form. Well, let's rewrite the equation now underneath this. Y equals x minus 4. Okay, so listen, here's what we need to do. Our m is always the number that's in front of the x. Well, in our equation, we don't have anything in front of the x, but remember our coefficient, if there's nothing there, is always a 1. That's our invisible 1. So in this case, we would say that our slope, because that's what they're asking us to do here, identify the slope, our slope is 1 in this case. Okay, then it says, what's the y-intercept? Y-intercept. Well, the y-intercept is my b. Okay. Now I know it says plus b here, but remember, if I did leave change opposite, it would be x minus 4. I would do x, I'd leave the x, change the subtraction, the opposite of 4 is negative 4, and really what we get is the y-intercept is negative 4. But I don't even have to do that change. All I need to know is that if it's a minus 4, that negative goes with the 4. So my y-intercept is negative 4. Okay. So slope and y-intercept. I'm going to go ahead and let you guys do part B. First thing you need to do is, it's not in the correct form. So we had better get it into the form of y equals mx plus b, which is just like our function form. So get the y by itself. So go ahead and pause the video and see if you can get it in that form. Okay, if you're back, getting the y by itself. So two things. I know I have to get rid of that times 5. I also have to get rid of the 3x. That's what's going to get the y by itself. So step number 1, I get rid of a 3x by subtracting 3x. Over here they slash kill. Since I minus 3x from the left, I can minus 3x from the right. Now I'm going to rewrite what I have left. I have 5y equals. I'm going to write that negative 3x first and then the positive 10 second. Okay? Get the y by itself by dividing by 5. The 5's go away. Now remember, if I divide by 5 on the left, that means everything on the right-hand side has to be divided by 5. And now I'm going to rewrite. Y equals negative 3/5 x. A positive 10 divided by 5 gives me a positive 2. So I'm just going to rewrite it. So there's my equation in slope-intercept form. Y equals negative 3/5 x plus 2. Now I have to identify my slope. Well, the slope is the number in front of the x, so m equals negative 3/5. Okay, and then the plus 2, well, that's going to be my b. So b, which is my y-intercept, is 2. Okay? Very good. Next problem here. Okay, parallel lines. Little rule about parallel lines. If I have two parallel lines like the two shown here, the blue line and the red line, our rule says parallel lines have the same slope. Okay, so these are parallel lines. Parallel lines are two lines that will never, ever, ever cross each other. All right, but now watch this. If I find slope, remember slope is just rise over run. So if I want to find slope of the blue line, really what I'm doing here is trying to find from the first point here, I'll call this my starting point, how far up and how far over do I have to go? What I would have to, I'll do this in green, I would have to go up 1, so my rise in this case would be 1, and then over, my run would be 1, 2. So that line would have a slope of 1/2. Well, let's do the red line now, because if I'm claiming these are parallels, you're going to see what happens. Okay, start at one point, I say I have to do a rise of 1 and a run of 1, 2. So what you're going to see here, the slope of these two lines are going to be the same. Parallel lines have identical slopes. That's why that they'll never cross each other, because they're always having the same rise and the same run. As long as they keep going up and over by the same amount, they'll never ever touch each other. Okay, so that's a rule to know. Parallel lines have the same slope. Next, perpendicular lines we just learned about. Perpendicular lines are lines that will cross each other. They intersect. But very specifically, perpendicular lines not only intersect, but they also form 90-degree angles. So those are my little boxes here. They form 90-degree angles where they do cross. Okay? Because of that, we get this rule, that perpendicular lines have the inverse reciprocal slopes. Okay? Whatever the slope is, so watch this. If I find the slope of the blue line, okay, so if I start at this point on the blue line right here, and I find a slope, I'd be going up 1, 2, 3, 4, so there'll be a rise of 4, and a run of 1. Okay, that is for the blue line right there. Now let's find the slope of the red line. Okay, I'll use black for this one. I still have to start at that same point. But if I find the slope of the red line from this first point to the second point, well, now I would have to go down 1, so that would be -1 over 1, 2, 3, 4. I would get -1/4. Well, if you compare these two things, this is what we mean by the inverse reciprocal slopes. Okay, we inverse because if they're perpendicular, what I have to do, if I know that the one slope is 4/1, what I need to do is reciprocate that. So I flip it upside down and make it 1/4, but then also the inverse of it. So it was a positive 4/1. Its perpendicular line is going to be -1/4. So I flip it and I change the sign. If it's a positive 4/1, the perpendicular line becomes -1/4. Okay? Let's put that to use. Example 2. Find the slope of a line that has the given relationship to the line with the equation 4x plus 3y equals -18. All right, so they're asking us to find two things. Oh, don't want to move that. They're asking us to find two things here. The slope of a parallel line and the slope of a perpendicular line. So here's our line right here. 4x plus 3y equals -18. Well, if I want to find the slope of a line that's parallel to that, well, first I have to find the slope of this line. Okay, I need to find slope. Well, hard to find slope if it's not in the correct form. So what I have here is 4x plus 3y equals -18. Why don't you pause the video and go ahead and try to put that into the y equals mx plus b form, our slope-intercept form. Okay, now I'm going to go ahead and get to it. So I get rid of the 4x by minusing 4x. Okay, I'm going to rewrite this to give me 3y equals -4x minus 18. Okay, let's get the y by itself by dividing by 3. That means this gets to be divided by 3 and the -18 gets divided by 3, which gives me then my slope-intercept form of y equals -4/3 x. And then -18 divided by +3 is a -6. Okay, well now we can look at this because now I should know that my slope of this line is -4/3, and I should know that my b or y-intercept of this is the -6. Okay, those are the two things we learned today. Now, that's the slope. The -4/3 is the slope of this line. What this question is now saying, what is the slope of a line parallel to this? Well, we just learned that parallel lines have the exact same slope. So if the slope of this given line is negative 4/3, then a parallel line is also going to be negative 4/3. It's just simply rewriting it down. Okay, the slope of a perpendicular line to this one is, well, if this specific line is negative 4/3 for slope, then remember what we had to do is we had to flip it. So it's 3/4, and since it was negative, the new perpendicular line is going to be positive, so it's positive 3/4. Okay, so that's how to find slope of a parallel or perpendicular line to the given line. That's our lesson for today.